Welcome back, those of you that are returning, and welcome those of you that are joining for the first time via YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Thank you again for allowing me in your space today. Today is going to be our part 2 for how to maintain a balanced life. Now, for those of you that have not watched or listened to part 1, I'd like for you to go back and check it out so that you will be all caught up. Now, I'll give a little recap, but I'm not going to give it all because I really want you to have a look at it or listen.
You are now tuned into the Selflessly Selfish podcast. I am your host, profoundly unforgettable, the resource you see, Master Life Coach Teresa Webb, here to encourage, motivate, edify, and inspire you to become the best version of yourself.
Part 1, we discussed how to maintain a balanced life and the importance of prayer and meditation, which both are equally important. Prayer is your talking or your conversation with God, whether you are thanking Him or making a petition, making a request. And meditation is your more so mindfulness and listening for the response, listening for direction, listening for the response to your prayer requests. And we also talked about you cannot ask a question and not wait for the response. So that was the first part, prayer and meditation. Secondly, was the discipline versus self control. We discussed that self control is more so an immediate in the moment type response, and self control being more than just an attitude or an act of anger or non anger or response. Self control can cover many areas of our life. Self control in eating, because you can be eating healthy, but what about overeating? That's also an act of self control. Discipline is more so long term. The more that we practice self control and we work on that area, the more disciplined we'll be. Discipline being whatever goals you're setting. We talked about even if you're working on a workout regimen, because again, I like to think of it as not trying to lose weight, but if our focus is on self control in what we're eating and deciding to eat healthy, then the discipline of that and self control will allow us to lose the weight. Now, we've discussed the self control and discipline. Now we're going to move into the second portion, which is going to be our honesty and integrity. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe. Click the bell so that you'll be notified whenever there's new content available. Honesty and integrity. Honesty is more so not being deceitful, being truthful, and dealing with the facts. And integrity is being able to do those things when no one is around, no one's watching you. And I could remember a time when I was, little kid growing up, and parents would be at work. And of course, most kids, you get home from school, you have those latchkey kids. Um, and your parents would say to you, you're to come home, get your homework done, and don't you go out that door. Some parents would say, don't open the door, don't answer the door. We had all these different rules and things that we were required to, as children, that we must follow. And of course, your parents, they're asking you questions, did you do this or did you do that? And it's yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. We're honest and telling the truth. And then there's that time when, you get home, of course, and you have homework, but you still have your friends that are outside playing. And you know that your mom and dad are not going to be home until a certain hour. And you just think to yourself, well, if I can just get 30 minutes in, if I can just get about 10 minutes outside with my friends. And you have that moment where, you know, you just want to forget about all that. But then you realize the consequences. And that's when you decide, you know what, I better do what it is that I was to do. And that's when integrity kicks in. Because even though your parents aren't there, you understand and know what you've been told to do, what you're required to do, and you've agreed to that. You've agreed that you would stay in the house. You're going to complete your homework. You weren't going to open the door or answer the door or anything like that. So, again, that's integrity, being able to do those things when no one's around. If you know that you've made a certain agreement with, family, friends, whomever, that you all were going to do, certain regimens or certain things. Even if I remember a time when the church would go on fast and we were required to do certain things or not eat certain things, that required a level of, well, we're going to go back a little bit because then it's self control, discipline, and a level of integrity. So, because no one is there with you now. So you're required to hold this fast. You're required to refrain, or you're required to have a level of self control and discipline. So, good to be a person of integrity, because integrity is just really, you're doing the right thing, you're doing what's right. And I believe integrity is going to incorporate self control as well as discipline and honesty. So it's almost like be a person of integrity, accountability, and humility. So it's kind of like we're still on that same block. Um, we've had honesty and integrity, still in the same neighborhood, just all different houses, right? So accountability and humility. And again, if you see me looking down, those of you that are watching via YouTube, it's because I have notes. And again, I want to make sure that I'm explaining it with a level of clarity so that everyone is able to grasp what it is that I'm wanting to share with you today. So I will be looking down occasionally at my notes and making sure that I'm staying on track as well. So accountability is the acceptance of responsibility for honest and ethical conduct towards others. So that's being accountable, right? You take full responsibility for your decisions, regardless if they're right or if you were wrong. That's accountability. Now, humility, that's a good one. And that's something I feel that that's a trait that we all need to um, lean in on. We all need to encompass a level of humility. And humility is the feeling or attitude that you have no special importance that makes you better than anyone else. I've always said that because some people will make you feel, because of their religion or certain practices that they participate in, that they're better than you. Some people will make you feel, because of a certain job status um, or a level in society, that they're better than you. Um, I like to explain it as, just because I decide to focus and practice self care, just because I decided, just because I decided that those things were important to me, does not make me better than anyone else. Does it make us better off? Yes. So you may be better off, but that does not make you better than anyone else. Okay? I feel that a person lacking humility, it's almost impossible to live a balanced life. Because when you lack humility, then it's almost like a level of pride. When there's a level, when there's a lack of humility, there's also a level of pride that will not allow you to take accountability. And when you are able to make decisions, again, whether right or wrong, and you lack the conscience or you lack the integrity to take accountability for your actions, that's something where it's definitely going to bring about an imbalance in your life. The scales are now tilted because we talked about the discipline and self-control. We talked about the lack of these things. And the more that we lack discipline and self-control, the more that we lack honesty, integrity, the more that we lack accountability and humility, it's like it erases the boundaries. It sets you almost in the sense that you are above everyone else, that you are not held to the same standards, that you can do, say, whatever that you want, and there are no consequences. But the truth of the matter is, there are consequences to every action, every decision, everything that we do, there's consequences. And we have to take accountability for our actions. And ignorance or a lack of knowledge does not exempt you from taking accountability. Accountability is even accepting the fact that you were just unaware. You were unaware. I didn't know this, and therefore I did this or I did that. I said this or I said that. We take accountability whether right or whether wrong. I hope that you're still with me. I hope that you are following along. And if you are, don't forget to subscribe. Share the podcast with someone you feel that can benefit from the content that's being shared with you today. I thank you again for allowing me in your space. And we're going to keep moving right along. Thank you. And if you have questions in regards to anything that we've discussed thus far, anything in regards to honesty and integrity, anything in regards to humility and accountability, place them down low in the comments. And I'll be sure to try to answer as soon as I can. Okay, let's move it along. Let's keep it going here. Next, we have self-love and self-care. Now, self-care, and we're still talking about maintaining balance. And I know you may say, Coach, this is a lot. But the beautiful thing about this journey and the beautiful thing about our life is we focus on progress and not perfection. Because we all are going to make mistakes. It says in the scriptures that we all fall short, right? But we've just discussed that when we do fall short, we don't hesitate to take accountability for that. So I know that it's a lot. I know that we're discussing a lot. But again, we're talking about balance. And we're talking about over time, these behaviors that we are going to begin to adopt and take on. And we're going to work towards it, not perfecting it and not perfection, but we want to make progress in those areas and we'll begin to grow in those areas. And right now we're discussing self-care and self-love. Now, self-care is a deliberate practice that involves taking care of your physical, mental, and emotional health. Self-care. one of my favorite things, and that's really what my focus is in regards to the podcast, as we share best practices and tips on how to improve our daily self-care. And the reason that I like to focus on self-care is because I truly feel that in order for us to do the things that we love to do and to be able to be there for the people that we love the most, we have to first take care of ourselves. I've told you that self-care is not selfish. It's actually um, one of the most profound ways that you can show um, love and give love to yourself. Because again, self-care, we cannot give from an empty cup. We have to make sure that we're pouring into ourselves. And then in that overflow is what we're able to shed abroad to everyone in our life, the people that we love and we care about the most. That's when we can give of ourselves even more freely, I would say, because we have more than enough. We don't neglect ourselves in order to take care of others. Because if we continue to do that, then we're going to, if we continue to give out and not replenish, then there's nothing left. There's nothing left. I mentioned in one of my previous podcasts, and I want you to go back and check out the previous ones that were where I did discuss how important it is. And the people that love you the most, that appreciate you being there for them, they're going to love you even more and understand that sometimes you need to take a break and focus on self. Because they'll realize if you don't focus on self, then you're going to no longer be able to be there for them. Now, self-love. And let me say this. Self-love is a subjective concept that involves having a positive relationship with yourself and accepting yourself for who you are. And with that being said, we just talked about self-care. So that tells you you don't have to love yourself in order to begin caring for yourself. And I believe the more that we practice self-care and we take care of those things in our life and we take care of the things that we need the most, I believe it's going to allow us to learn how to love ourselves and appreciate ourselves for who we are. And that means accepting the good, the bad, and the not so pretty, right? We're accepting all of who we are. And if we're able to do that and we're able to begin to practice self-love, that's only going to allow us to give even more to others. Unconditional love. Because I believe that it's impossible to love someone else when you don't love yourself. There's a scripture, I believe, that says that we are to love our neighbors as ourselves. And if you don't love yourself, how are you going to give that to somebody else? Unconditional love allows you to unconditional love allows you to give a certain level of compassion to others because you can see them when they can't see themselves. And when I say that, I mean you can see, not looking at where they're at right now, not looking at yourself or where you're at right now, but you can see the potential. And you can love and you can encourage in that aspect. And I want to just sit right here for a minute and talk about that. Talk about self-love and the fact of loving ourselves and appreciating ourselves for who we are. There was a time in my life where I didn't have the appreciation for the gifts that God had gave me. And I was picking apart everything about myself. And I didn't realize me doing that to myself caused me to do that to others. And you have to realize that when you have people that are coming at you at a certain way, it's because they feel a certain way about themselves. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. You have to know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And you have to love everything about yourself and know that you are not a mistake. When you were created with a purpose in mind. And that's something that we can start today with practicing self-love for ourselves. Self-care and self-love. So remember, you don't have to love yourself in order to begin caring for yourself. And that could start with just, something as simple as getting a good night's sleep, beginning to eat the right things, caring about what it is we put in our body, caring about what it is as far as like having a voice, being able to speak up for yourself. All of that falls in the lines of self-care. And the more that you do that, the more that you're able to care for yourself, I believe it allows you to develop that love. And you'll learn to appreciate and love yourself. I thank you all for those that are still with me. I thank you for allowing me in your space. And what I want to say today in closing, the most important thing in regards to maintaining a balanced life is finding the time for the things that matters the most to you. And even when you can't find the time, it doesn't mean that you don't ever stop trying. You don't ever give up on yourself because you don't want to miss out. You don't want to regret not taking the time for the things and the people that matters most in your life. I want to remind you today that there's nothing new under the sun. If it has been done, that means it can be done. So stay hopeful and take action. I thank you again for those of you that are watching via YouTube and listening via Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I appreciate you once more for allowing me in your space today. And if you haven't already been told, I want to let you know that I believe in you. I believe in your power to become the best version of yourself. So don't ever stop working towards your goals. Don't ever stop working towards creating that balanced life that you deserve. It's something that we are going to be working on for as long as we are here. Thank you so much. Sending you all the love. I appreciate you. I hope that you join me again for the next episode.
If you've made it this far, thank you for watching and for allowing me in your space. If the video resonated with you or you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe. Click the bell so that you will be notified whenever new content is uploaded. Until next time, remember, all things are possible when you believe. So stay hopeful and take action.